Hello, welcome to the third episode of The Bigger Boat, where I, Luke, and he, Joey,
Hello.
talk about Steven Spielberg's movies, going through them one by one. And this week, I'm very excited because we are going to be talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. How are you, Joey?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about this one too, because I think this is, for me, a nice... I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that much about it. It's been a few years. It's a nice mixture of...
How long ago was it, do you think?
I think I've only seen it once, and that's when I was at university.
Okay.
Which is about 10 or 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I went to my 10-year anniversary of graduating a few weeks ago.
Did you?
But I think I saw it in the second year, so we'll add an extra year to make it 11 years.
You didn't tell me about the graduation thing. How was that?
Yeah, it was very good, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's exactly the same.
How many of them have a podcast?
Oh, not enough.
Not enough. Okay, fine.
They're all busy actually earning money, so...
Oh, right, never mind.
Yeah. So, Luke, how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been alright, thank you very much. It's been a pretty busy week at work, but there have been some filmy things that happened. I got quite excited after the Jaws episode because I found out there's this film called The Meg. Have you heard of this?
I haven't, no.
It's cool. It's coming out very soon. It's Jason Statham and a massive shark.
I've seen the trailer for that.
You've seen the trailer?
Yeah.
So I just watched the trailer and I got very excited because it's Jason Statham punching a shark.
Yeah. This time, Jason Statham has to cross the goddamn beach.
It's Fast and the Furious 8.
Yeah.
Shark attack. So that was very exciting for me. What else happened? Like I said, I had a really busy week at work. So in order to cheer myself up, I took myself to the cinema and I watched Incredibles 2.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I went after work. Didn't tell anyone. Just drove.
Brilliant.
I thought this has been an awful day. Straight to the cinema. Let's watch Pixar.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Did it do the job?
It did the job. Yeah.
I've heard one person say it was better than the original. Would you agree?
Maybe. I think time will tell. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it just as much as the first one. But it is different because I think there's been... Well, superheroes are quite saturated these days, aren't they?
That's true.
And a lot of the tropes are stuff you've seen before. But it still is really good. And also, because it's a Pixar film, so I hold those films in such high self-esteem that all the last few Pixar films, like Up and Coco and Inside Out, have left me in tears.
Yeah.
And the fact that this one, I just enjoyed it and I wasn't in floods of tears at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, should
Maybe
it have had more of an
missing.
emotion? But I guess that's not really the point of it.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun. It was it was really good.
Yeah. Do you remember going to watch Up together? And it was basically us and a bunch of sort of 10-year-olds or younger.
No, I don't remember that at all.
I do. I was there crying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was you, was it? Okay. Right, okay. But the good thing about the new Incredibles one is that they put Elastigirl, so as the sort of the mum as the front and centre main character doing all the heroic stuff.
Yes, I heard this.
And the dad is trying to deal with the stay at home, trying to be a dad.
Yeah, apparently I think Brad Bird wanted to do that more or less in the original, but
he says it was his idea from the beginning.
Yeah, the culture at the time was more...
Do you think the studios said they wouldn't have done it at the time?
I think that is the case.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and now,
But it's worth watching just for all the Jack scenes. The Jack's the little baby,
yeah,
and he's just like evolving his powers, and he's got loads of them, and they're all very, very funny.
I'll definitely check that out.
Turning into a demon, and there's also a bad guy called Reflux, who is an old man who just vomits. Which I quite enjoyed. Because
do you know the story about? So The Incredibles are directed by Brad Bird.
Yeah.
Do you know about the villain story connected with Brad Bird?
No.
It's that Brad Bird is, how should we put this, very particular.
Okay.
I.e., I think he's a bit of a shouter.
Right, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure he even hides it. I think he is very...
Allegedly. Sources are yet to confirm.
Yeah, he's a man who knows what he wants, from what I hear.
Yeah.
To the extent that a lot of the Disney animators modelled the villain's face on Brad Bird.
Really, actually?
And it got so far down the line before someone told him, oh, by the way...
Oh, that's the Syndrome one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Syndrome boy, or whatever he's called.
Yeah, who was the sidekick who turned into be the...
Exactly. And it got too far. He suddenly was like, we have to change it. And he got too far down the line, and so it is the way it is, and it is like a cartoon version of Brad Bird's face.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite funny. Yeah, so that was my week, really.
So that's your film of the week as
That
well.
that was probably the last film I watched. Yeah, that was incredible. So, what about you?
The last one I watched, one that I really wanted to watch and never got around to seeing it at the cinema.
Yeah.
The British film The Lady in the Van.
Oh, the Maggie Smith one.
Yes.
I know it's on my to watch list on Netflix, but I've not seen it yet.
Alan Bennett memoir, and there's a character called Alan Bennett, and he splits himself into two as sort of like the writer and the livable guy who goes about his life and has to actually interact with the lady in the van, and its complaints about the extent how much she smells and this sort of thing. And it's really interesting. It's a really interesting character because we've all met people like that. So the neighbours give her Christmas presents and she doesn't even think to say thank you. And
okay, it's a good watch.
It is a good watch. It's a nice light film, to be honest. Yeah,
Sunday afternoon fare. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We tend to do Brits tend to do that quite well.
Yes.
Don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
But I personally really enjoyed it because the character was so good.
Yeah. So we are due to watch Close Encounters fairly soon, and so you said you have only seen this once, but this is the first time I've seen this as well.
Yes.
Which really surprises me. I don't know how it's bypassed me. So when I was trying to do research for this, I didn't really want to spoil it too much, but I have prepared another quiz for you.
Oh, you have?
Close quiz counters of the Berg kind.
Alan's back. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I said it's been 11 years, so we'll see how we go.
Right. Okay. Well, you got 4 out of 5 right on the Jaws quiz. I'm counting. Yeah. There will be a spreadsheet. So, okay. What is a close encounter of the second kind?
It's seeing like a UFO in the sky or a strange happening.
No, that's the first. So I think that's the first kind. Is spotting spotting UFO.
Oh, hang on, I know what it is.
Wait, you already had your answer. Yeah. Go on.
And the second one is leaving evidence. So like a crop circle, for example.
Yes. You don't get any points for that, but correct.
Darn.
Okay. So who did Steven Spielberg approach first for the Richard Dreyfuss role?
I believe I know this.
Okay.
Was it Steve McQueen?
It was Steve McQueen.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. So it was the first person he had in mind. Do you know why he turned it down?
I think he said he couldn't cry on cue, and that was one of his favourite scenes. And he said, "I don't want you to cut it." So
yeah, absolutely.
Cast someone else,
because apparently Steve McQueen couldn't cry,
and
he thought crying was entirely necessary in the script, and couldn't do it. Said, "I'm not the man for the job."
Yeah, it would be a completely different film, wouldn't it? Because Steve McQueen
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Steve McQueen is well and truly like a movie star.
Yes.
There's no way you can sort of get away from that. Whereas Richard Dreyfuss, which is the character he was going to play,
everyman,
is most definitely like an everyman in this film anyway.
Yeah. Which French New Wave director has a major role in this film?
Francois Truffaut.
Very good. That really surprised me that Truffaut was in this.
Yeah, they're completely different.
Yeah, just
different scales of the cinema spectrum.
Exactly.
But
it's like Jean-Luc Godard appearing in a Michael Bay film.
It is, yeah.
What was the name of Spielberg's first sci-fi film, which he made at the age of 17? A lot of the scenes that he made in that film are sort of storyboards for this film.
I think is it Firelight?
Oh, you've got it right again.
Firelight.
Yeah, Firelight. Yeah.
Yes. Woo!
Very good. Okay, and what was the original working title of Close Encounters when it was being scripted?
It wasn't like Dark Skies or something like that?
It's very close. Watch the Skies, it was called.
Watch the Skies.
You know what? For someone who hasn't, that's 3 out of 5. So that's not bad at all.
Thank you very much.
So I guess we should probably set up some context for this, because I didn't really realise this at all. Apparently UFOs were a major phenomenon in the 1970s, and they were all over the media.
I don't think I realised that. UFOs I kind of think more as 50s. It seems like everyone was paranoid in the 50s, not really 70s.
Well, I guess so, because there was a lot of 50s movies, weren't there, like Day the Earth Stood Still and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you had it was in the 50s you had so many of those sort of like creature from wherever, creature from the Black Lagoon.
True.
Things from outer space.
But apparently the media started to cover UFOs quite a bit, and there was quite a few sightings. I think this was made in a bit of a response to that being in the general zeitgeist at the moment. And so Spielberg had written this because it had been playing on his mind and quite fascinated him. He was a bit of a believer as well.
Yeah.
And didn't really know how to make that movie. And then the Watergate scandal happened. And then he thought, yes, having some shady government features in combination with UFOs would be a good way to go down. Yeah. And that's sort of what stimulated him to make the movie.
Because there's always been a kind of theme that people have talked about, not necessarily put into movies, because there's that whole thing about how many files people like Churchill had on UFOs and things like that. Yeah, and that's that's in the 40s. So.
Yes, there was a thing called Project Blue Book, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which was, I think, some like the real life X-Files.
Yeah. So I mean, it must be quite telling that perhaps people are thinking about things outside of the Earth or whatever, because of course this came out the same year, only a couple of months after Star Wars
as well. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Star Wars was out in May, and this was out in...
This was November, actually, wasn't it? Yeah. Because there was a lot of pressure, for him to release it by November.
Right, I think we should watch the movie, perhaps.
Do you want to do a little synopsis for people?
Yeah, shall I just keep it brief?
Yeah, keep it very brief.
Okay, so like a blue-collar worker, everyman guy, who's just got a normal house with his children and wife.
This is brief, right?
Hang on.
He was a Leo. He wants.
So it's just Richard Dreyfuss, who's sort of an everyman. I'm not sure he has that much interest in outer space before this, but he basically experiences something very strange.
Okay.
And kind of gets innate sort of urge to try to discover exactly what it was, and that leads him down this path where he has to encounter sort of government figures, and it all feels very shady, like they're trying to cover something up because he just can't explain.
Okay.
It.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
And so it's his journey that he goes on to try to just explain what's happened to him.
Fine.
Yeah, he's drawn towards a certain location for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that feels more or less every scene.
Now's probably a good time to go watch the movie if you're watching along with us with the podcast. And after we come back, there will be spoilers. So it feels weird having to explain that we're going to give spoilers for a movie that is 41 years old, but we will.
That's true, and such a classic. I would also just like to point out that the film Luke and I are watching is obviously Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but it's the collector's edition.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a few.
Which includes extra scenes.
Yeah.
So you may find us talking about things and you've gone and watched the original theatrical version, for example, and you'll be like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So that is why. And hopefully we can isolate those and remember which ones are unique to the collector's edition.
Right, okay. Lovely stuff. See you guys in a little bit.
Bye.
That wasn't very good.
You added an extra dude.
Did I?
Yeah, you did at the end.
That was it.
Maybe that would be enough to annoy the aliens.
No, that was 5. That was definitely 5.
That's 5.
Is it a do?
It's down, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sorry. A flat. Yeah, okay, got it.
Even though we established when we talked about Whiplash that neither of us know anything about music. But anyway, welcome back. We have watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
We have, yes.
Your first experience?
It was, yeah.
What did you think?
I liked it. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. There's a lot of really good elements to it, and it's very sort of Spielbergian. But maybe it's the fact that I've watched a lot of movies that have been influenced by it.
Yeah.
And then coming back to it now, it feels like other films have done it better.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I'm mainly thinking of Arrival here.
Really? I've never seen Arrival.
You've never seen Arrival? Oh, it's so good. It's basically the last half of Close Encounters, but in much more detail, about communicating with aliens.
Oh, right.
And it's a brilliant film. And I think Close Encounters, having seen that, Close Encounters does suffer from that a little.
Its own sort of influence, if you like.
I think coming back to it, I think it dates it a little bit.
Yes.
But there are some really good elements to it. But I think my overall enjoyment of it, and especially because it is over a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
It did feel a bit long in parts.
Yeah. I was interested to know if you thought that. Because, when we described the plot just before we went to watch it.
Yeah.
Remember I said that basically like, the essence of every scene is what's going on. Dreyfuss more or less even asks it himself, what's going on? I want an answer. You know, when you ask what a character wants, which is usually the main thrust of a story, and he's like, you know, what is going on? Mm-hmm. 2 hours, 10 minutes is a long time to not answer that question.
Whole question. Yeah.
When it's the centre of every scene.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a long time. Like, you know, you'd usually you set up your main question, and then you have lots of little episodes of suspense, but it's all building to preparing the hero for what's about to happen at the end.
Yes.
When you constantly don't know, and you're constantly asking that question yourself, why?
Yeah.
It's a lot to take, I think.
Yeah.
It's exhausting because you're constantly asking and you're not really getting much back.
Yes. And a lot of the scenes are very impressive visuals, and you're meant to be, I think, taken aback by how impressive the whole set pieces are, how the big spaceships, but there's no real plot.
No, I think perhaps it's suffering from, remember 2001 A Space Odyssey is not that long before this.
Yes.
You know, so that's 68, I think.
Sure.
I think the real moon landings were 69, right?
Yes, that's right.
So now, you know, this is 77. So it's definitely in that sort of, let's think about space and travelling outside Earth.
Yeah.
But 2001 really takes it to another level with the visuals and the wonder.
Yes.
This is trying to be somewhere in between a little bit of Disney wonder, because there's a few references to Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And more from a naive point of view.
Yeah.
Whereas, kind of, no matter what you say about 2001, it still sort of stands up in a very scientific way.
Yes. It poses more questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About sort of religion and God and...
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas this is very much, like you said, that sort of Disney sense of wonder. That very, this very Spielbergian type of...
Yeah.
Look at this extraordinary thing that's happening as in that line.
People.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even that guy at the end says, it's ordinary people seeing extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was only one time where I actually, I wrote down, is this a metaphor for some sort of god or godlike experience? Because there's one bit where Dreyfuss literally just shouts out, like, I need an answer.
Yeah, sure.
And so you think, well, that's a question which...
Great American accent, by the way.
Which most people need.
Yeah.
And religion fills that sort of sense of wonder and inexplicable thing.
I guess so.
It was the only one time I wrote that down. Whereas you're questioning God and that sort of thing a lot when you watch 2001.
Yes, true.
Against science. Whereas this is, more... It's this weird halfway in between an actual story...
Yeah.
And trying to be just wonder. And wonder is essentially a mystery.
Yes. And the way he sort of shows that, I think, with the shards of light that constantly blind people...
Yeah.
I guess you could say that, could that lend credence to the fact that it is a metaphor for a religious experience or something like that?
Yeah, perhaps.
And I was thinking, the way the mothership responds in terms of its... the music it plays.
Yeah. Music
it's like a heavenly chorus, isn't it? With the
music and lights and things. Yeah. I actually wrote down, is that a reference to Fantasia, perhaps? Because, there's whole sections of Fantasia where... Even the animation aside, there's times where you literally have the orchestra conducting and you have lights behind them going on and off in times with the music and that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So I think perhaps that's a reference. But this is the first time, because of course this is only the third movie.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's at least attempted that Spielbergian ethereal sense, which we will see later in E.T.
Yeah, there was some definite things that reminded me, this is a storyboarding for E.T., isn't it? Yeah. The other sort of themes that I wrote down that are very, very Spielbergian is, so this is the first time we sort of have kids play a big role.
Yes.
And also the themes of like a broken family as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Do you think that Richard Dreyfuss is a bit of an arse?
An ass.
An ass.
I think that could be said, yes.
Because when you look down at him...
He's very selfish.
He's very selfish. He wants his kids to do whatever he wants them to do. He goes off on his own, leaving behind his wife and his 3 kids to look after 3 kids after he's clearly gone mad. then kisses another woman.
Yes.
And then goes off in a spaceship with no thought or seeming regret at all that he's leaving his entire life behind.
I know, I've always I think Spielberg himself says it was a very naive film in that he looks back and he's like, would I have Richard Dreyfuss go off in the spaceship at the end, with him being some sort of surrogate for himself or whatever? No, definitely not, now that he's like the father of 7 kids. Like, no way. Because he goes without a single thought.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's just like, I have to go.
Yeah.
So with Jaws and things, we talked a lot about the technical aspects of how he was building tension and all this sort of things.
Yeah.
But it feels like this is the first film where we can truly talk about the themes of Spielberg.
Sure, yeah.
And we mentioned in the restaurant when we first came up with the idea, because we had noticed the pattern, that he's always a little bit strange when it comes to things like parenting and particularly fathers.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Fathers leaving. If you think broadly of a Spielberg film, there's often a common theme of someone not being a very good dad.
Yeah.
Or, in this case, leaving a family without a single thought.
Exactly. So we can see this in things like E.T., Hook,
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds,
Cruise. Yeah. Tom Cruise has lost his child and wife. He's absent from his wife in Minority Report as well.
Yeah, and even the latest film Ready Player One as well, there's absent father figures.
Oh, right. I haven't seen that. But yeah, because I've done some research into Steven Spielberg over the years and things. And I think I heard it from Spielberg himself, that when...
You're just having a chat, were you?
yeah. I heard it himself on television. That, I mean, a very big event in Spielberg's life was when his father left the family unit. He's got 2 sisters as well. And he says himself that his reaction was screaming at his dad, saying, "Cry baby, cry baby."
Really?
Yes. Because his dad was crying and all this stuff, but saying, "I have to leave."
And that is exactly what we see in this film.
Yes. Yeah. This is a very autobiographical film, actually.
That must have been difficult to shoot.
Yes.
Or to put in the script. That's pretty bold.
Imagine being Spielberg's dad and watching it.
Yes, because he's still alive, isn't he?
He is still alive, at the moment, He's 101. So, I mean, that clearly shows that it is some sort of autobiographical thing. Or the filmmaking and the telling of that story is making up for something perhaps lacking in Spielberg's real life, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
His obsession with films, could be mirrored by Dreyfuss's obsession with making the mountain out of everything.
Sure.
Mashed potato and through the window.
Because he does say often in interviews that whenever he wants to put someone in a movie that he feels represents himself, he casts Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes.
So he very much sees Richard Dreyfuss as sort of the everyman that he empathises most with in the films that he makes. And that's the case in Jaws, that's the case in here, it's the case in Always.
Yeah.
He's very much the how he sees himself. So if you think it might be just reflective of his own obsession with what he wants to do in his career.
Yeah.
Is that reflected in any other movies at all, or
I'm not sure.
What made you think that?
In other films, he doesn't particularly have protagonists who are obsessive, does he?
No, not usually.
They're usually, as I say, they're usually quite bad fathers or whatever. But they just tend to be ordinary people and ordinary people don't tend to be that obsessive.
What did his dad do for a living? Or
he is some kind of engineer.
Okay,
and he is credited or whatever, recognised as making the first sort of electronic till, like a shop till.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, there is an actual twist coming to do with this theme, which I think we might leave till later, just to be a little bit of suspense.
Okay,
to keep you guys all listening to our podcast. But basically, Spielberg's dad and the effect that it had on young Steven Spielberg has got another element to it, which only came to light fairly recently. I'm talking within the last decade or so.
You've intrigued me. Okay, you're going to drop that Berg bomb later on.
Exactly, yes, I am, yeah.
Do you want to spill your Berg too early? Right, okay.
When we climb that Berg, we'll know it.
Actually, Berg is German for mountain, isn't it?
It is. It's play mountain in German.
Yeah.
The other theme I was going to say was we see it a little bit in Jaws, and it's the same sort of thing as like you see the devastation of the thing in Jaws, you know, rather than seeing the shark attack. Yeah. We see the hand on the beach.
Yes.
For example.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, which I think ties into this whole kind of uncanny, and Freud describes uncanny as basically the everyday doing something odd. Okay. You know? So it's like, it's something familiar which is not quite right. So you would describe a waxwork as uncanny because it looks so much like a human being, but actually it's inanimate.
Yes, okay.
And that happens quite a lot in Close Encounters. You know, things in the kitchen do really odd things, especially when the mum's got little Barry, the little boy, and you know you have the Hoover doing its own hoovering on the carpets and all of that kind of thing. There's a lot of that, which again builds suspense, which adds to this mystery of what's going on.
Just a few little points that took me out of it a little bit.
Yeah,
just things that I found quite unbelievable. Well, it's a film about aliens, so like the bit where. So, can I reference another podcast?
Yeah.
So if you listen to the Commodore Mayo Wittertainment podcast, they have this feature called The Smallest Mountain You'll Die On, in which basically the tiniest detail in the film that completely takes you out of it. They go, nope, I'm out.
Right, yeah.
And this was a literal mountain, because as they're climbing the mountain at the end, Richard Dreyfuss couldn't climb up a small hill, a really tiny hill, and kept on falling down it, even though the incline was barely anything at all.
That's true.
And they were being chased by helicopters around on a completely open surface. There is no way 6 helicopters could not detect 3 untrained military people.
That's true. Yeah.
To actually get on the mountain themselves.
That's very true.
I was just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm out.
I'll tell you what I noticed most about that sort of thing, because I double checked this little fact on my phone as we were watching, because I wanted to make sure I was speaking the truth.
Okay.
So Devil's Mountain, Wyoming, is a real
place.
It's a real place, which is exactly because I was suddenly reminded of, for some reason. Have you seen North by Northwest?
No, I haven't seen North by Northwest.
So that's an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Hitchcock's, yeah.
But it concludes famously at the end of on Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
I noticed something as I was writing that down?
Yeah.
Like, is that a reference? It came over the tannoy.
Yeah.
We've got disturbance or something in North by Northwest coordinates or something.
Really?
I promise you that happened as I was writing.
Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those little things.
Yeah. So I feel quite smug.
We mentioned kids a little bit earlier on, and what amazes me, how Spielberg manages to get such amazing acting out of kids.
Yes, the little kid is amazing.
He's amazing. He doesn't really speak much, and he doesn't really make much sense. I think he's only 4.
Yeah.
But his acting and his facial expressions are just amazing.
Yeah, they're so believable.
Yeah.
Do you know Spielberg had some T-shirts made up, which, because the main little Barry his real name is
Carey, isn't it?
And he had some T-shirts marked up which said "One Take Carey."
One take, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. I think they gave him a little award as well at the end of production, saying,
did they?
like a little Best Actor 1977 award.
That's really cool.
Which is really cute.
Yeah, he deserves it. He's really good.
Yeah.
Because there's loads of references, I think I may have mentioned this, to Pinocchio. Because Richard Dreyfuss tries to get his kids to go and watch Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I loved Pinocchio as a kid. I grew up with Pinocchio, he says.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is another referenced again in AI. There's a lot of references to Pinocchio.
Sure.
But apparently, right at the end there, when you have the lights and you see the aliens and things, in the music, there is a little tune of When You
Wish Upon a Star. Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah.
Yes.
Should we talk about the music?
Yes, let's talk about the music. Yeah, because it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Music and things happening to music.
Yes. So it's John Williams again, naturally. And you can just tell that by listening to the score, especially the final score at the end. So when they wanted to represent communication between the ship and the humans, they settled on this famous 5-note piece.
Yeah.
And I think John Williams just came up with hundreds of combinations of 5 notes until they got something that sounded right. Because 7 notes sounded too much like a song. 3 notes didn't sound like anything, but 5 notes sounds like it could be conversational.
Yes, almost like syllables.
Yes, a little bit. And then it does sound conversational, doesn't it?
It does, strangely, yeah.
When the music gets faster and faster and faster, and then the mothership kicks in, and you get all these aliens playing tubas and things like that, it does sound like it's a bit conversational. And that's what reminded me of Arrival the most, because it's all about communication in a different manner,
right.
And how you'd work out deciphering that.
Yeah.
And that's the whole premise of Arrival, and it's amazing. And I like the way the guy said 4 semi-quavers.
Yeah. 4 semi-quavers.
Semi-quavers.
Yeah, that was good. I wrote down, because there's a bit in the kitchen bit where I was talking.
Yeah.
About the everyday doing strange things. A really nice piece of almost Hitchcockian suspense with the screws coming out.
Yes. So that was my favourite scene.
Yeah.
In the movie, where because that's the bit where it was the most suspenseful, wasn't it? It was using a lot of directing sort of tricks to make things pretty tense. Everything was choreographed really, really well. Placement of the camera and the shots was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the lighting outside as well. Yeah, it really all just built on top of each other.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It felt very real. And again, sorry to be that guy.
You are that guy, Joey.
You wouldn't get that sort of thing with CGI. The fact that it feels very real. That you could tell that Hoover was going across that carpet. You could tell that oven was banging in and out.
Yes.
You know, for real.
Yes. So, but I know you were saying about CGI with Jaws as well, and how it's nice to have something in the room and an actual presence there of real visual effects. But do you think the visual effects of the spaceships have dated now slightly?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks very... So before CGI, it was photochemical, which means you sort of you layer an image a lot.
Oh, is that how they did it?
Photographically, yeah. Some of those spaceships and stuff have got sort of 6 layers of effect.
Okay.
To make that sort of ambiguous, bright light, not quite seeing the object things.
So when they're filming, like just when they see not the big mothership but the smaller ships.
Yeah.
What are they actually filming?
So there'll be models.
Just models.
Models with lights and that sort of thing, yeah.
Okay.
And then that level of lens flare and all of that kind of stuff is what I'm talking about in those layers built up. And
is that put on over the camera, directly over the camera, or
no?
Okay.
Think of it more like once you've processed your film.
Yeah.
And it's more like a darkroom process.
Right. Okay.
Which sometimes Spielberg uses when there is almost no special effect, which it gives you quite an odd looking image.
Sure.
So the house, which has got little Barry in with the mother.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's shots of just the house and the crop fields outside and the sky.
Yeah.
You can look at that and in a certain given shot there might not actually be any special effects. In that I mean, there's no spaceships.
Yes.
But something about it looks a bit odd.
Yeah.
The stars are too bright.
Yeah.
Everything is a little bit
heightened.
Too defined. It's heightened, yeah. Which is odd because a lot of what we were talking about was the reality of the situation, like it happening to someone very ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain times where the shots are a little bit like, that looks like a movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look real.
Yeah.
It adds to that sort of thing that you were talking about, having the little element that's wrong, which pulls you away from it. I was aware of the lighting.
Uncanniness.
Yeah, I was aware of the lighting.
Yeah.
Which is not really what you want when you should sink into a film.
Yeah.
And not be aware of the lighting.
Yeah. So another question for you, Joey. When the spaceships, when they first see them for the first time, why are they following roads?
Follow the lines.
Why are they going through a toll booth? They really don't need to.
I don't know. Why not, I suppose? All roads lead somewhere. The Devil's Tower, apparently.
Fine.
Wyoming.
Okay.
Spielberg himself did say, sometimes you just get an image in your head.
Yeah.
And you have to just put it on screen aside from the logic of the given circumstance.
Right, okay.
Which includes, so you have the shot of Devil's Tower, and that is what most of the film is leading towards that as a focal point. He said, and then I just had an image of the mothership coming up from behind that tower. And it's like, well, was the mothership in a hole behind?
Yeah.
And he is aware himself that is a ridiculous notion.
I didn't even notice that, actually. Yeah.
But to do with the wonder of the thing, if you get it right, you can get away with it.
To be fair, that actually worked really well.
It did work well.
So I didn't notice that.
Yes, because it gave you that sense of scale.
It did, yeah. Shall we talk about the French?
Yes, let's talk about the French. Because there's a lot to do with... A main theme, particularly, of this film is communication.
Yes.
So we're introduced very early to the translator character, aren't we?
I was going to say, why are they French? But do you think it's all about the communication?
Yes, or the lack of it.
Lack of, yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the translator, the cartographer.
Yeah.
The Bob Balaban character.
Yeah.
So you know he got the job because he said he could speak French when he couldn't.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah.
Which actually,
or he could a tiny bit.
He spoke it in high school, and then Steven Spielberg was like, "Do you speak any French?" And he was like, "Blah blah 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 blah," and that's French for "Yes, I speak French." And
you've got the job.
Exactly. He's like, "You've got the job," and then realised I don't actually speak French, and he's speaking a lot of French in this movie.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So it's quite impressive.
So first of all, let me just explain a little bit about who Francois Truffaut
I guess Truffaut
is, and then we'll probably ask each other why Steven Spielberg might have chosen him.
Yeah, sure.
So he's one of the French New Wave directors who was kind of not annoyed, but sort of like noticed a lot of similarities in Hollywood films, a lot of tropes, and he was getting a bit bored of them basically, and along with Jean-Luc Godard and things.
Yeah.
And so they basically wanted to tear up the rule book, as it had sort of like become.
Yeah,
they were seeing the same sort of thing too much. And Truffaut sort of made the first one, which is called the 400 Blows.
And it's actually you who introduced me to the French New Wave. You showed me some Godard. You showed me Breathless.
Yes.
And A Bout de Souffle.
Yeah. So probably what those guys are most famous for, particularly Godard, because he's sort of become the poster boy for the whole movement. Is the jump cuts, and jump cut is where it's not a smooth transition from one given scene to a next. It doesn't cut you off mid sentence, but almost. It's very abrupt.
Okay,
and that's the kind of cinema they were trying to introduce. Yeah. They wanted it to be sort of half reportage style, using small cameras, so that it looks like it could actually be from a newsreel or whatever. And then you're breaking the reality that you associate with that sort of documentary reportage style by doing something as radical as cutting scenes really immediately with dramatic effect. Like, you're instantly going from day to night. You're not having a Twilight scene in between.
Yes. Okay.
That sort of thing.
And how much is that translated into what Spielberg does then?
Interestingly, not that much.
Because it's not really something I associate with him.
Yeah, which then makes me question... why did Steven Spielberg do it?
Because he says that Truffaut was one of his first choice. He wrote it with him in mind.
Yeah, it's
because he has done acting as well, and although he's primarily known as a director.
But saying that, Truffaut loves Hitchcock himself.
Yeah.
So maybe Truffaut watched Jaws and said, "Well, this guy loves Hitchcock as well." Truffaut actually interviewed Hitchcock. It's one of the most famous interviews with Hitchcock because it was very in depth. It lasts for hours, I think. I've listened to most of it, and then it was made into a book, which you can buy. But he's really, really questioning him about techniques and all that kind of stuff, to the extent that Truffaut says, "Oh, I was doing this scene and I was struggling with it. How would you do it?" And Hitchcock gives him the answer. It's literally a sort of teacher-student scenario and that sort of thing. Yeah. So maybe that's what bonded them. And maybe Spielberg came to Truffaut with a sort of like, "You were my mentor, but would you do me a favour and be in this this movie?" But anyway, he agreed to do it.
I guess why not?
Why not? Yeah, exactly. If you ask. But saying that, I mean, we basically all filmmakers need money, basically, whether to live or to make movies. Yeah. The truth is, Truffaut would know that just being in this one Spielberg movie, if it did well, would give him a lot of money, because he makes a lot of very small films for not much money. That's his thing. Yeah. Just to give you an example of the sort of thing which the tone of a Truffaut film. So
the 400 Blows?
It's basically a precursor to films like Angela's Ashes and Kes.
Sure.
And that sort of thing, which
are sort of hyper-real.
Yeah, hyper-real, real children doing real things, being naughty in a really we've just happened to capture that moment kind of way. Mm-hmm. That's sort of what he's famous for, which is not the tone of
No, not at
this
all.
film about aliens with a lot of special effects.
But I guess he's remember, this is in context. This has come just off the back of Jaws, one of the most successful movies of all time, and Spielberg surely has carte blanche, doesn't he?
Yes, he
to
does.
do what he wants for whatever amount of money with whoever he really wants.
Well, I think that's why he was able to get away with such a personal movie, because it is personal to him.
Yes.
Because we talked about a few things.
He couldn't get this made, could he? Beforehand.
No. We talked about, the fact that, there's references to Spielberg's own life, his own obsessions, and a little bit about his attitude towards fathers.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he needs huge amounts of money for the special effects.
Yeah.
Which is a risky thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you had that as a script, I think if I was a film executive, I would question Spielberg before Jaws, certainly, and say, you're treading this strange ground between story and basically just light and music.
Yeah.
As well. You're at this point, you're not Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. The entire third act of the film is no talking, essentially,
no talking. We're basically just watching people watching lights and music.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is almost as odd as it sounds when you watch it.
Yeah.
What is going on? I know what else I noticed, because it's time where we can sort of this is our third one, isn't it? So we can sort of start comparing them a little bit.
Yeah.
A few little things I noticed. The use of cartoons again.
Yeah, Marvin the Martian. And then Roadrunner was used in Sugarland Express.
Exactly.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He likes his Warner Brothers cartoons.
He does. Yeah.
Well, and Pinocchio is obviously referenced as well, but that's Disney, not Warner Brothers. But
I think that was mentioned more to highlight how much of a child Richard Dreyfuss's character is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely always in context of the movie, and it tells you more explicitly about what you want. Yeah. But I think Spielberg thinks it's in a subliminal way. But you're actually very aware as an audience member, oh, we're watching that because he's telling me what I need to hear, which is, because they even say, while that's playing, actually, you're talking to me from another world, or something like that.
The alien figures, is that the first time we've seen alien figures like that? Because they've seemed sort of very stereotypical alien-like figures.
Yeah, so Spielberg based this on a lot of interviews to do with UFOs and stuff.
Yeah, because he was he believed, didn't he?
He really, well, I think it might have lessened now, but he really was a believer this time.
Yeah.
Just to quote X-Files.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to believe.
But that's based very much on people's sightings and that sort of thing. So he didn't want to go too far out of the boundaries of that, what other people have described.
So those the small grey aliens. But first of all, there's this sort of really spindly sort of.
Yes.
Then you don't see that again.
The logic behind this was that just as on Earth we have different races.
Yeah.
The idea was that aliens have different races. So some of them are tall, some of them are short.
Okay.
So all the short ones are ballerinas, little girls.
Yes.
So they can move elegantly and stuff. And he tried a whole bunch of different techniques.
Yeah.
He tried to make them really move their hands and feet around really fast, and then they shot it really fast as well.
Okay.
And it looks really bad because you can watch the scene on various DVDs, including the one I have, or you could probably watch it on YouTube. And he tried.
If we can find it on YouTube, we can post that. Actually,
yeah, sure. But it looks quite bad. It looks like an experiment that hasn't worked.
Yeah. Okay.
To be frank, and then the alien that actually we see it blink and it's looking quite good.
Yeah. That
was shot again. That's actually a model. It's like a marionette.
Yes, and the one that smiles at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes it, because that looked like a puppet, didn't it?
Yeah. So they had to reshoot that.
Okay.
But fair enough.
Yeah.
If it is try something, if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Reshoot it. To be that technically proficient at that age is amazing. Yeah. To get it to all come together is good leadership, isn't it?
Shall we wrap things up then?
Yeah.
Although this is the first time I've watched it, it's definitely worth a watch. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, but I'd really recommend that you watch Arrival and see what you think of it, because I really think you'll enjoy Arrival.
Okay, I will watch that. I would recommend, if you're going to watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind, try and watch it on a really big screen.
Yes.
Turn your phones off.
And with a good sound system.
And it'll enable you to have more of an experience with it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. We will be back next with the next film, which is
1941?
Yeah, I think it's 1941. As always, you can follow us on our new Twitter page. We are on @BigBoatPodcast, and we are also on email. So you can email us at
thebiggerboatpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week for 1941.
Okay, bye.
Bye.